group. My name is Jenny Anchondo, and I serve as the host and moderator of these events just to kind of greet you, welcome you in, and then do some setting of the stage, some ground rules, some party rules, and then some Q&A at the end. So here is the plan. I'll introduce the speaker, then she is going to go for a while, and I have a feeling you guys are in for a real treat based on the research I've done on her so far, our chat before the session, and everything I know about her. So I think this is going to be a really incredible 2-session situation. She's going to be with us for the next 2 weeks. Now, without further ado, let me tell you about our speaker. She is Yesi Alexandra Montenegro. She is a business owner, entrepreneur, and CEO of Divinity Light Healing Boutique. So you might be wondering, well, what is that? What is that boutique? Well, she'll get into it, but she did work as a program manager for an after-school program funded by the Department of Public Instruction in partnership with United Migrant Opportunity Services and the Milwaukee Recreation Department for 8 years. So she has a lot of experience in that realm. Then she started a consulting company in 2018 to help coach, train, and inspire people on how to improve their mindset to reach their highest potential. Listen, we can have all the education in the world, and when the mindset is not on point, it really can be a struggle. So that company later merged with what we know today as Divinity Light, which I mentioned at the top of our conversation. It's a company that's focused on helping people to reach their highest potential by helping care for their mind, their body, and their spirit. So I think this is such an interesting component because we've talked a lot about sort of the logistics of business, like how to fill out government forms, how to get a government contract, and now we're working on our mind and body. So 2-part session. Let me tell you, today is going to be breaking out, overcoming your own obstacles. And so we're going to talk about how our thoughts, our energy, and also learn how to identify the challenges that we create in our minds. And then just as a little teaser for next week, that's going to be part 2, and it's perfectionism, overcoming our biggest light dimmer. So we're going to talk about how you can take steps toward the direction of your dreams with confidence. So we're starting out doing it, in the small, intimate gathering of our online crew here so that you can head out into the world and be successful in whatever way you would like to be. So without further ado, I'm going to mute myself and hand it over to Yesi, and we'll meet you on the other end. Hey, Yesi, good to see you.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to everyone who is here with me today. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited to share and spend time with you. So the way that I like to start things out, or my sessions or my training sessions with people, is I like to check in. And the way that I do that is we're going to be having this conversation all about energy today. So the way we check in usually is I take my hands and we just put it over our heart center. And what I do is make sure that your feet are nice and grounded. And we're going to take some deep breaths in together while I do this guided, we can call it a guided meditation or a guided welcome. And basically, we're going to center ourselves and we're going to get here and be in this present moment together. And so I'm going to say thank you for being here today. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for everybody's journeys, and that we have all gotten to this place where we can be in this place together, sharing this very intimate time together. I'm grateful for you for trusting me and letting me share my story and help guide you. And then all I'm going to say is just that I ask that we be open-minded today, and we just be open and receptive to hearing new information that will help us become the best version of ourselves, right? We're already a beautiful, perfect version, but there are always parts of us that we can be allowing to mold and shape, to really let that light really seep through. So when I say that best version of ourselves, that's what I mean. I mean allowing those hard parts of us to fall apart and to let that light shine through so that we can go out into the world and fulfill our purpose. So I want to check in. Where are your shoulders? Where's your head? How are you feeling? Sometimes we hold our shoulders all scrunched up like this and tight because we're carrying so much stress. So we're going to make sure that our shoulders are nice and released. We're going to make sure that we're taking in those nice deep breaths. Check in with our body. Where are we? Remember that we're sitting in a seat. You can be in your car, you can be in your home, wherever you are. Just remember to check in, and your feet nice and firmly grounded on the floor. We're going to take 3 deep breaths in together. So we're going to go 1 in, all the way to your tummy. Let it out. 1 more in. Let it out. And last one in. and let it out. All right. Thank you so much for doing that with me. As Jenny said, my name is Jessie. I am a boutique owner here in Wisconsin. I am originally from Milwaukee, but my boutique is in Cedarburg. And what I do here and the way that Divinity Light became is I actually first started a company called Featherlight. And it was a company that I wanted to do consulting for because I wanted to help people with life lessons. And I called it Featherlight because I was focused on living those life lessons or teaching life lessons to people that were in a lighter way than having to go through those intense life lessons that we typically go to, right? And my story comes from I ended up in my early 20s, I ended up being diagnosed with depression, ADHD, anxiety. I also ended up being diagnosed with math phobia, which I didn't think that was an actual thing, and something called adjustment disorder. And my mid 20s was a very tumultuous journey because I was taking medicine, I was working with other mental health care professionals to be able to help me regulate and be able to help me figure out what was going on with myself. And by that point, by the 20s, I had really struggled in school, and I had heard things and comments made like, late, I was lazy, or I had heard things like I wasn't good enough, or there was a lot when as I was growing up, there were a lot of those comments made that I was just I was always behind, right? So I then developed this mentality that I was always trying to catch up and I was not enough. And I was always just trying to keep up with everyone else. And to tell you that I was so isolated and I was so alone in the sense where the Latinos thought that I was too what they called whitewashed at that time. And then my American or my white friends, I was too Latina, right? So I was always in this single bubble. I was always very different from the rest. And I never knew, I never understood why. Why was I so different? How come I couldn't keep up with everyone else? And so growing up, I started developing complexes and I started really dimming my own light because I had grown up knowing that I was different, that I was weird. My dad used to call me, he used to say, Jessie, why are you so weird? And so I grew up thinking that weird was bad, right? And so what ended up happening and the way that that ended up then manifesting or showing up in my life was that I would play small or I wouldn't take those chances. I was living in a lot of fear because I didn't think that I could do it. I had heard so many things. I was programmed, the words that we use really stick with us, right? And the words that we use with our children really stick with them as well. And so when you're working through that as you grow up, you kind of have this upset of like, this is who I am, right? Everybody created me. Everybody was part of telling me who I was. And if we don't know who we are ourselves, and if we can't really come out and say, like, no, I am truth, I am smart, I am strong, because everybody else is always telling us, I am weak, you're weak, you can't do that. No. And how many of you are surrounded by so many naysayers, right? Oh, you can't do that. That's too big for you. Ah. Jenny says, oh, I'm one of them. Right. So that's not something that's odd. That's not something that's different. We're all surrounded by a lot of those naysayers, those people who don't necessarily know how to uplift us and motivate us. And what I'm going to tell you today is that those are all lies, right? And I'm going to shed some truth to it and I'm going to help you understand what's really going on. And the thing is that that's a conditioning from our childhood. It could come from the fact that we were born or created or raised, or, we show up as we have that fight or flight mentality, right? And we always have to be prepared for whatever dangers are out there. And so we lead our lives living in that fear-based mentality or scarcity mentality. There's not enough. And how many of you have either heard it or said it yourself? There's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough. And so we saying those things are programming ourselves in that kind of mentality, and that perpetuates. So if you say, I don't have enough time, you're never going to have enough time. If you say, I'm sick, well, then you're going to be sick and you're always going to be sick and you're always going to stay in that mentality. And I will say, I feel confident enough in sharing these things and talking about these things because I am the kind of person that I put it into practice. If I'm going to live something, if I'm going to teach somebody something, then I'm going to go through it first and I'm going to say, I can, you can overcome, and this is how you can do it. And so what I've done is we even got to a point as of recently where I was on medicine and I was really struggling, and especially with the condition and the way that things are in the world right now, I had believed that I was broken, right? And then if someone in your mid 20s tells you, oh, gives you this running list of things that you have, it can be very scary and you don't know how to navigate that. And what do you do with that now, right? And then again, mental health issues were taboo, and how do you really live that life? And again, being a Latina in a Latina household, and being able to break apart from the pack, right? And say, no, I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to figure out how to do this, right? And there are so many people that are out there that are telling you, like, do it this way, and the medicine, and this and that. And there's a lot of new age things that are also coming out. So what I had to learn was I had to learn how to take in all of this information and how do I keep myself grounded and how do I apply these things so I don't let all of that stuff on the outside get in the way of me actually taking steps towards my goals, towards my dreams, towards making them a reality, right? And so what I've done, and again, as someone who has been diagnosed with ADHD, and I don't know if many of you know about this, but ADHD folks, we show up differently in this world. I call it my gift now instead of what, I used to call it my curse, and it was this bad thing and I was doomed to failure, because that's the mentality that we're kind of raised in, right? If someone tells us, oh, you have this illness or ailment or whatever the case may be, we automatically, what do we think? We're broken. Oh, something's wrong with us. Oh, we're not enough. We can't keep up with everyone else. But once you start reprogramming yourself and once you start telling yourself, speaking to yourself differently, I promise, promise, promise you, you can definitely make a difference, and you can make a difference in your own life. You can change your own life. You can heal yourself. And then that allows you to fill your soul cup so that you can come out in the world and fulfill your real purpose, which is shedding your light and shining so that everyone can see, oh, hey, she has challenges too, and she's doing it. Well, then maybe if she's doing it or he's doing it, then I can do it too, right? So that's our purpose. That's what we're here for. And ultimately, it's up to you to find what your purpose is. What is that thing that lights you up? What brings you the most joy so that you can go and share that? If bringing the most joy is you being a mom and staying at home with your babies, that's one of the biggest jobs that there is out there. And if you want to be able to have more light in your body and heal your body and just be in a more fulfilled place so that you can be the best version of yourself for your babies and set that example, then that's what you're going to do. That's your purpose. You live in that and you own that, and you help yourself shine within that reasoning, right? If you want to start a business, if you're looking to start over again, start a different job, you can do it. It's how do we help ourselves overcome our own limiting beliefs, our own negative thoughts, a lot of the external programming from our parents, from our family members, from our friends. How do we do that? So, what I'm going to explain to you guys today is I'm going to explain energy, that everything is energy. And there's a lot of science that's coming out having to do with energy, and they're talking about healing frequencies, or that music has a healing frequency that if it plays out, it helps our body, right? Genetically, DNA programming. So what I'm going to start showing you guys today is a little bit of the basis of what that looks like, okay? And so what I'm going to be using, referring to words as negative and positive. So what you would think as negative, lower density things, so things that are like rocks, right? Things that are like dunk, not a lot of movement. Higher vibration, that positive stuff, is those things where it's like, think of easy fluid motion, okay? So that's how we're going to play with it. So what I'm going to show you, we're going to look at this. So this, can you all see this? It's a jar, and inside there's water, right? So now we're gonna be visual, because I'm also a visual person and I know that visual aids really help me. So higher vibration. Think about water and how water can be so fluid. And when we surrender to the flow, right, you can float and water just takes you, right? So that's higher vibration. Now we're going to attach words to it like love, joy, peace, positivity, encouragement. Okay. So think about all of the positive. Maybe think of someone in your life that you know that encompasses that kind of like positive, fluid flow person that maybe you can think of, oh, I know a person who's kind of like that, right? Okay, so now we're gonna go over here, and this here I have a little a mountain. And if you guys have never played with stuff like this before, this is called kinetic sand, okay? And look, I want you to see how there's still movement in it, right? but it's a little bit slower and it's a little bit denser. And look the way that I'm having to grab onto it in order to be able to move it. I'm having to use a little more force, right? And I'm having to apply a little more pressure to be able to move it and get it to flow, okay? So now here we're gonna think about, we're gonna put words, things that we would associate now with negativity. So like we would say hate, right? We would say jealousy, we would say envy, we would say let's see, what are some other dark dense words that can come with it? Sometimes, you know, trauma and illness, that's that energy that we're working with, right? It's this like dunk, it's just like, look, just dunk, right? As opposed to the water, which is a lot lighter and it's fluid and there's movement, right? So in this world, we are both, right? We are both. Our life experiences teach us, right? Sometimes our life experiences get ingrained in our body and it becomes dense, and that's what we carry around in our body. So what I want you to think about today is, now, the best way that you can remember these things is by being able to feel it in your body yourself and being able to place it with a person or with an event that you may have had in your life. So let's think about a person. Think about a person in your life or someone that maybe is not constantly or consistently in your life, but is someone that you know, that you met, that you immediately connected with. There was just something about that person that was really light, it was really attractive about them, and you just didn't understand why. It almost felt like you had known this friend for the longest time, okay? Think about that person. What did that person encompass? Were they like, what did they look like? How did they feel? How did they make you feel? What were the things that they might have said to you? Or how is it and why is it that they made you feel light and love and kind of like this fluid, like, kind of like a breath of fresh air, right? Think about that for a second, right? Okay. So now that you have that, hold on to that image. Okay, so there's that. And now I want you to think about a person or maybe a space that you've ever walked into or you've ever met where you just didn't know, but something just felt really off. And you were just like, oh, and you just didn't know. And maybe even after they left, you just kind of felt like fluffing something off because you're like, ooh, I don't know what it was about that person, but I just did not like that person. There's something there, right? Okay, so that's the energy that we carry with ourselves, right? That's coming from within, right? That's coming from our thoughts. So it's about intention setting as well. If we are a person that walks around in this world with the best intentions of spreading love and kindness and generosity, and we are here to help one another, and we are here and we carry that mentality of that we can do it mentality, that we're stronger together mentality, then you are going to pick up on those vibrations and you're going to want to work with those people, right? If you are walking around with those intentions of, I'm a victim, the world is against me, woe is me, I hate everybody, everybody hates me, then that's what you're going to pick up on, okay? So when I show you this kind of energy and this kind of, not saying, so I have had some very intense experiences in my life, right? And I'm not saying that I still don't have these parts of me or that they're not with me, but I choose, right? I choose what intentions or what energy or what thoughts that I want to stick with or what thoughts want to resonate with me. So I've had to work a lot on being able to work with other people in the sense of remembering who I really am, right? Staying in that light, staying in that space, knowing that I am smart, I am strong no matter what. Even if I look and appear different to the external world, that's okay. So it's what story I'm telling myself, right? In this light, I am telling myself I am strong, I am brave. And if you do connect to a stronger, like God energy or source energy, whatever you want to call it, if you want to connect to a higher being, I don't judge in any of that cases, whatever that is. You just think about that, right? And I always say, if I was created by something obviously so much bigger than me, then I have that energy, that magic within me, right? And I'm going to show up in the world. So if something created me and put me on this plane, on this planet for that purpose to shed my light or to do something, then I'm going to believe in that. And all of the thoughts that I may have adapted or sucked in as a kid. So look at this. This is something that I also wanted to remember. This is a yellow sponge. right? If you can see it, let's bring Jenny into the chat with it. And the other thing that I'm going to invite you all to do too is if you say, "Yep, can see it," da 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 da, that's awesome because that means that we're interacting and we're exchanging energy. So this information is going to stay in your mind, in your area a lot longer. And again, it will be able to stay and help you resonate and change and grow and evolve if you're also interacting. So if you can see it, if you say, "Yes, I can see it, I see it, it's a yellow sponge," that's awesome. We're just going to clarify that everybody is able to see all of my visual aids here. Okay, so as a kid, as we're growing up, even as adults, okay, I want you to remember that we are like sponges, and whatever information we take in, okay, it is a choice. It is a choice that we take in. So let's say in this world, we have positive things, right? So here, let's say we have the water, and we can take those in, right? And then sometimes those negative things, those denser things like hate or crime or violence comes in as well, because again, we're living in a world right now that's very much full of that stuff. So that can also, it can absorb and it can cover us, right? It can make us a lot denser. So what we have to do, what our job is we also have to help offset that by putting more positive things in our brains, right? So what are you doing for yourself to help you motivate and inspire? Let's say that you are your support system right now. You live at home with people that are not the most positive people in the world, and you're trying to overcome that, and you're trying to do something better, and you're trying to become a better version of yourself. And they keep on telling you, your track pattern is not gonna, because of what you've already done, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna change, right? So what you need to do then is you need to surround yourself in the sense of, I didn't have Oprah right next to me, but Oprah has books and Oprah has videos. So then I would tap into Oprah's videos and books and see what she's teaching. And then if she had another teacher that she would bring in, then I would surround myself with that teacher as well. You are not a victim of your circumstances because you can make another choice. You just have to be creative with it, right? And so people will say, you are the person that you surround yourself with most, right? So if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of negative people, well, that's where your energy and your vibration is going to be, right? So what you need to do is you need to help yourself to be able to get yourself out of that. I am surrounded by a community that at the beginning didn't believe in the science and the medicine. And, my dad would say, "Oh, depression didn't exist in the rancho," right? Which I understand that there's definitely truth to that, but that's his truth, right? And so I had to learn it from my end. Well, how do I navigate this? What do I do with this? There's, chemistry behind it. There's a lot of science behind it too. So how can I overcome that? Because again, I surrounded myself with other people who were like, "I've gone through it too. I have trauma, car crashes, going into multi-million dollar bankruptcy," and they were able to come out of it. And so what I learned was that it's a mentality that we can adopt. It's a mindset that we can adopt, right? People have said, "I've really gone through it. I've been," there's a story about a woman whose husband ending his life, and then she ended up getting sick. She ended up going through bankruptcy. She ended up meeting abusive partners, and so she went through a serious time where it was a really, really hard time. So when she came in and she met another teacher, she really stuck with his teachings and she really started applying those things and she really started following him, and then eventually ended up changing her life and evolving. So whatever situation you are currently in right now, I promise you, you can get yourself out of it. It's by starting with changing your mindset first. Now, a lot of people will tell me, "I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do." And I will tell you this, just start anywhere. Things have become so easily accessible for us today that we don't really have to start by investing a lot. I have invested a lot financially in my education, in my own personal growth, because I understand that there's an energetic exchange with that. So that's kind of like my commitment. That's that energetic frequency where it's just like, I'm going to invest this way. But if you just start by typing in YouTube, right? You can look up who is someone that everybody has access to. Oprah. Oprah has access to so many people. That's a name that's very recognized. So if Oprah is tapping into someone, start looking into what Oprah is doing for right now. There are also people like Mel Robbins, who is also doing a lot of great work in this stuff. Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing great work in this stuff as well. You've heard of Tony Robbins. And so the thing is that if one of them doesn't speak to your soul, one of them doesn't speak to the person that you are, right? If Tony Robbins is not your person, that's cool. He has a very different energy, right? It's really intense. And so if you want to go more towards the softer side, Oprah can show you people like Jay Shetty. She's also worked with Mel Robbins and all of these other. Dr. Brene Brown is also another person who's doing fantastic work right now, where she is teaching a lot of people about shame and vulnerability. So the thing is that easy access for you just to get started is start educating yourself, start bringing those positive seeds, start bringing in more water of that fluid light into your life, so that you can start offsetting a lot of the negativity that we're surrounded with right now, right? Now, one of the things that I have learned, and eventually you will get to this point after you study and if you put these things into practice. But I'm learning that everything doesn't have to be positive or negative, right? That's an attachment. That's our thoughts attaching importance to everything. What if we could get just to the place where it's like, it just is. It just is a situation, right? Even because even in this world, we're starting to get really caught up in like the likes. How many likes am I getting? Are the likes, and we're using that to validate us, right? Because we think that, oh, people put likes in our stuff. That means that we're special and that we're important and that like we're on the right track. And then what happens when you don't get so many likes on a post, right? That can also take you down because you're like, oh, am I doing something wrong? People didn't resonate with it so much. And so what I've also learned is just as long as you're keeping your intentions in alignment, right? In this pure love capacity, I want to love myself. I want to spread love. I want to have a higher vibrational life. I want to bring in, I want to attract more finances. I want to be able to attract more love. I want to be able to attract more friendship, more other opportunities, travel, whatever that case may be. Then start learning how to let go of all of that stuff too, and just start to look at it as it just is, right? That's a situation. And no matter what situation comes along in our lives, sometimes those situations can trigger fear inside of us. And then we stop ourselves from going towards our dreams, the direction, taking those steps. And so sometimes what we have to start learning how to do now is we have to start looking at those thoughts, those ideas, those things, that stimuli that's coming in from the outside, and say, even though it's causing a little bit of fear in my body, that's okay. I am safe. I am strong. I am capable. I can do it. No matter what comes my way, I will be able to overcome it. I will be safe. I will be strong. I am smart enough that I'll be able to get myself out of whatever situation may come, right? And so when we start taking that mentality, we start being able to move along in this world through a little more flow, with a little more fluidity. When we surrender to the process, instead of having to take those steps and like, kind of claw our way through things because we're like trying to, when we start surrendering to that state of everything is divinely planned, everything, and I always say it's by divine design, right? Divine design. So for me, I always look at things as this is teaching me something. And what I always tell myself is, what's the lesson that this is trying to teach me? Maybe this is, I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort right now. Well, maybe this situation is trying to show me that I'm hiding my own light, that I'm not standing in my own truth. Maybe I've adopted other people's mentality. And so what I need to do is I need to center myself in this space and time and moment right here, right now. And I need to remember who I am, right? So I want you to think about a time in your life where it might have been really, really scary. It was really dense. It was, you didn't know how you were going to come out of it, right? And maybe a lot of things were going on at that time. And there was a lot of emotions flying around and maybe negativity, and you just didn't know. But what ended up happening, right? If you're here, that means that you overcame that time, right? So that's what I want you to remember. I want you to remember the energy of that. I want you to remember that in your hardest times, your most challenging ones, you are here. You are here today with me. You've overcome those times. So why wouldn't you be able to overcome any other time or any other uncertainty or doubt that you may have moving forward, right? So again, it becomes from a mentality or a mindset that we have adopted within ourselves, right? Okay, so I want you to remember, we talked about the water, okay? So this is who we already are, right? That love and light being, okay? So let's say that we have life experiences in our lives that, so let's say like trauma or really scary times that we've had in our lives that then we carry with us, right? So now look at our clear water, right? So the water, it's still there, right? That light and love, that fluidity, you see that? It still carries its properties, right? It's still very fluid. But now it's a little bit darker, right? And it's carrying a message, it's carrying a life lesson with it, right? So we're gonna add another life lesson. Okay, now it has changes, and you will see the evolution. So we went from doing blue, and so now we're green, right? Okay, so watch this. We can continue to just stay here and stay in this space and not grow and expand and evolve, right? And we can just continue living life in this set right here, just right here, down here, and taking in life experiences, right? You see how now it's we're changing colors here, right? And we're starting to get a little bit darker, aren't we? And so we're still here. There's no growth. There has been no momentum. There has not been anything that's helping us expand. And here's another life experience. Now it's getting real dark, isn't it? And the water's getting really dark and murky. So if you go along in your life and you read, right, or go do a healing session or add more clarity, right, in your life, the more that you expand, do you see how it's not as dark as we started because you started adding more of that positivity to your life as well, right? And so what you will do, yeah, so you're expanding, you're growing, you're changing, you're evolving. That's what you do. That's why you read. That's why you work on changing your mindset. That's why you look at it's a lot of people will say find the silver lining, right? What good is coming out of this, right? Sometimes when we go through traumatic experiences or events in our lives, again, we're like, oh, we're the victim and they did this to us and they were mean to us and da 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 da. Instead of focusing on that, yes, there is truth to that, right? I understand you lived a very real experience, but what's the opposite of that? What light can we shed to that? You know, I was able to find out that I'm really strong. I was able to overcome that. I did it. It taught me different things. For next time, I can be prepared. If there's any other situation in this lifetime that will kind of maybe remind me of those things or that energy, then I'll be able to overcome it. And I can use the tools that I learned from that event to be able to help me, right? So you had growth and expansion. But if you don't view it through that light, if you don't shed truth to it, and you just take in the lie of like, everything is bad. This is why, see how good things or see how bad things happen to good people. That's not the case. That's not the case. If we start honoring those journeys, if we start honoring the lessons, if we start saying, you know what, no, this taught me a really good, valuable lesson. I'm really grateful for the lessons that my experiences in my life have taught me, then you can go along living in this lifetime, being able to take steps in the direction to be able to fulfill your dreams and to be able to go for the thing that you've been wanting to go through. Remember, as children, the adults are our guides, right? And they're helping us in those moments. But then as adults, we forget that we are now adults too. And we can also change a lot of the things that our parents told us. Our parents or the adults when we were children were guiding us in that current moment, in that time and space, right? And then we carry that with us as adults, and we think, oh, mom said never to do this, or some adult, older person gave me this wisdom to say never to do this at that moment in time. The time has now changed. So what could it be now? Could we evolve? Could we take different steps in different directions to be able to help us propel ourselves into what we want to do, right? If you're looking for another job, if you want to get better, if you just want to go skydiving and you want to try it, but you're surrounded by a bunch of naysayers, if that brings you joy, then you are on the right path, right? If it feels good inside of you, if you're like, yeah, that feels right, right? If you are setting good intentions and you're like, I'm wanting to bring higher vibrations, I want to create more memories in my life that make me smile, that bring peace to my life, then you are on the right track. Now, I am going to tell you, when you are in a negative or a mentality of woe is me, everything is against me, nothing is ever going right for my life. When you go out into the world, do you notice how that's exactly what it is that's going on? If you start the morning by dropping your morning coffee and being like, oh, see, everything, I'm always running late. I'm doing all of these things wrong. Nothing's going right for me. And then something happens that you get to your car and you scratch the outside of your car. See, and then you go and someone cuts you off on the expressway. See what I'm talking about? Well, my love, it's because that is something that you were already proclaiming, right? You are also making that happen. But If you start thinking, I am loved, everything's great, everything's always working out for me. If you spill coffee, hey, that's okay. It happens. Not a big deal. There's more where that came from. You might find later down the road that someone will just give you a coffee just because you're like, no, it's okay. Not a big deal. Right? Because you're like, you let it go. You release it. You didn't have this attachment to what was going on at the moment. It's just like, not a big deal. I've learned how to be able to laugh at myself and be like, oh, Jesse, well, and then I'll also talk to God or the universe and I'll be like, well, then that just wasn't meant to be my coffee. Maybe something better is coming along, right? And I open myself to getting in that receptive position of being able to see the blessings that are coming along, right? I don't view it as like, oh, my life is terrible. No, I'm just like, all right, we'll move on. It's okay. Not a big deal. Everybody spills coffee. Everybody spills something, right? You can't tell me you've never been in this life at all without ever spilling anything. That's just not true. We all do. It happens. We're humans. But once we move on, okay, there's a scratch in a car. You know what? It sucks, but cars, material things are replaceable, right? What is more important is us, our mental health. How are we doing? So if I'm going to berate myself, well, I'm bringing myself down and I'm knocking myself down. And why am I going to want to work for a boss, right? The boss being the person in your head talking to yourself. Why am I going to continue wanting to work for a boss that's berating me all the time and telling me that I'm not smart or that I can't do it or be in fear? Why would I want to continue taking steps in this life and showing up? So I have to make sure that I am managing this boss up here and I'm saying, all right, that was an, and sometimes, you know what, I will say, I struggle with it all the time. And this is why I also talk to people about it because it's just like, hey, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It just means that I make a choice and I decide to look at it through truth and eyes of love. And I am the one who am like, how am I going to change this mentality when I am just in a state of being that's just like, oh, I am just berating myself and I am in a fear-based mentality. I have tips and tricks. So I call my friend. I will dance it out. I will start moving the energy within me. Yes, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to move the energy throughout your body, right? You're having chemical releases. You're kind of in fear. And so now your brain is just going down this place. So what I'll do is I'll shake it out. I'll shake it out. And sometimes it does. It looks really silly. But you know what? It doesn't look silly to me because I know that what I'm doing and I have a purpose. Why would I care what anybody else has to say about it if I am taking care of my body, right? I am doing what's necessary for my body. So why would you care if anybody is talking any sort of negative way about what you're doing when you're taking care of yourself, right? People will talk, and that's what a lot, and especially in the Latino community, there's this expression that says, "El que dirán," what will they say, right? And I don't know if you guys were ever raised in that or ever lived that. What will other people say? And so what I started having to adopt and started to learn about as well is I had to say, well, what other people have to say don't pay my bills, or what other people have to say won't help me get my brain healthy, or won't help me get my body at the gym, or help me get on that treadmill and do what I need to do. What I have to say is going to be the thing that moves me right in the right direction that I need to go so that I can help myself fulfill and achieve the highest things in my highest potential. So when the moment that I started releasing those things and being like, it's okay, whatever other people have to say that is negative or in a fear-based mentality is on them. That's the life that they're living. And so what I'll do is I'll just send them love and I'll say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because then in that case, I know, because I know I can do that too, right? I can totally adopt a negative mentality and then have that right when we're under pressure and we're sponges. Can you imagine us pouring that negative energy back out into the universe? And so we're just continuing this cycle, right? But when we say, nope, that's not mine, I'm not going to adopt that person's mentality. I am wise enough and strong enough and courageous enough and intelligent enough and knowing enough to know what the truth is, right? So, okay, maybe that doesn't work for you, but I'm still going to try it out. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to take the steps in that right direction. So, again, just start small. And it doesn't matter where you start, just start. Start bringing in, start filling, right, yourself with more of those positive things. Start learning about people who have had really terrible things go on in their life and what did they do to change their mentality to be able to overcome those things, right? And so for me, I've decided to live my life in purpose in the way that I will tell people if I am anxious or nervous or scared or whatever the case may be, hold on, you know what? Right now I'm having a moment of a little bit of anxiety. let me just breathe through this, and I'll do it right in front of people. And what I've also learned is that that's also refreshing because it's different, because people don't necessarily share those kind of things, where they're like, I'm okay, I'm really okay, I'll be fine, just let me help that energy move through my body. Because what happens is people can be anxious or angry, and then they take it out on other people, right? Because they don't know how to just communicate, this is where I am right now, it's just a moment in time. And then what ends up happening, we end up, this is what I always say, when we are speaking out of anger, we end up breaking a lot of dishes because of that, right? And then it's a lot harder to mend that and bring those pieces together than us just telling someone, I'm having a rough moment, I'm having a bad day, I'm having, and I'll be okay, I'll get over this, I just have to let the energy move through this. That way you don't have to backtrack, that way you don't have to try to go replacing the dishes or trying to fix them and glue them back together, because then that takes a lot more work when you have to go and apologize and explain to people. If you can just start by expressing yourself and saying, I'm just having a moment, not a big deal. You don't even have to share exactly what it is, but that opens communication for other people to be able to help you. So it's about, again, changing our mindset, trying something different, applying different steps in our lives so we can achieve. Because here's the other thing, you've already been doing the things that you've been doing for the longest time, have you not? And if you are feeling stuck, and if you're feeling like you're not achieving the most that you would like to be achieving, then we got to take it back to you, babe. And we got to say, well, what is it that you're doing or not doing? Have you started trying to implement different things in your life to get different results? Because if you keep going down the path you're going and you keep doing things the way that you're doing them, you're going to keep getting the same results. But if we can do something different, if we can embrace the weird, if we can embrace the crazy, if we can embrace the new agey things, if we can just find something different to do, what would happen? And then what you're going to find out is that really cool things start to happen. And then what you find out is that your light starts to shine and spread, and you start doing different things and attracting different things and different experiences. And it all happened because you had a mindset shift. So start wherever you can, right? You can also start following me on social media as well. I share tips and tricks. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, and I'm also on TikTok. You can find me through all the venues through Yesi Montenegro. I am also going to start, so wanted to, because we're going to open it up to the question part in just a couple of minutes. I want to share with you, so I'm going to be taking on 2 coaching clients, okay? 2 of you that are here watching this right now, that can tell me, today I'm going to give you one of the words, and then I'm going to give you another one of the words in the next session that we have. And so the first person that can put that in the chat next time when I send out that call, I'll be giving 2 free sessions for. Other than that, if you do want to work with me, you can definitely send a message. I do coaching as well, one-on-one. So if that's something that you're interested, you can reach out to me through my social media platforms. So the first word that I'm going to give you today, okay, is the word I. Okay, so remember that. So if you're here for next time, and I'll give it to you at the end next time too, it's going to be a different word. So today, if you can remember I, okay, and then next time you'll get the rest of it. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. At the end of the question session, we're gonna just wrap this all up. We're gonna connect one more time. We're gonna ground ourselves. We got a lot of information today, a lot of juicy nuggets and tidbits today. So we're going to help settle that at the end. And so if you stick around at the end, we'll kind of do another one of those grounding meditations, peaceful moments. But then I'm going to give it away to Jenny.
That was a lot. It was a lot. And did everybody notice she didn't use any slides or anything like that? Which is nice because we got to see your face the whole time. And then I loved the like the tangible. I'm somebody who like learns through touch and visual examples and illustrations and things like that. So okay, so now's the time, you guys. If you had, I know a couple of you were chatting back and forth with me on the chat. If you have specific questions, then post them in the chat. And this is your time. We've got like 10 minutes here to really, get down to the nitty gritty. If you have a specific question or something that you'd like to dive into. And by the way, you're getting some compliments in the chat too, saying the way that they like the way that you express yourself, that you are enjoyable, the way that you illustrate situations. So,
Thank you.
so I hope that you are enjoying, the reflection back to you. Here's what we want to talk about here.
Yeah.
How did you talk about what you actually sell in your boutique? Because I can't help but notice the beauty that surrounds you right now. Talk about your
Mhm.
business.
Thank you. So when I started giving workshops, and this is how Divinity Light ended up happening, was because I was giving a workshop. I worked with the or through the Milwaukee Public Schools at one point, right? We were in partnership with them. So I started realizing that there was a lot of our parents needed help as well, right? Because we have a lot of our babies that were coming up with diagnosis of autism and ADHD, and there were a lot of frustrated parents. And so what I started realizing was the adults needing a lot of help as well. And how do we help them navigate through all of these things? And then I also realized that teachers too were starting to get so drained. And so I wanted to start helping teachers develop those mindsets on how to be able to manage the classrooms in a more trauma safe, trauma sensitive way, where I understand that teachers were also navigating through their own trauma, and that was going to come out in the way that they taught our babies. And so I wanted to create a difference with that. When I had a workshop with with a group of the teachers, they loved it, and they were like, they came up to me, and a lot of them asked me like, "Well, now what?" And at that moment, I realized that they wanted, now because of, logistical things with MPS, I couldn't continue because I was working through one of their partners. I couldn't continue giving workshops there. So that's why I ended up leaving and creating my own business so that I can show up in a different capacity, right? I can come in as a business to be able to help people with lessons and whatnot. But I realized that they wanted products. They wanted, okay, well, what are you using? I mean, if you're doing this life, well, what are you using? So I talk about essential oils. I talk about crystals. I talk about those positive things. I use a lot of positive signage in my house. I'll have posters that will say "Your adventure begins," or I even have I'm selling un cuadro, a frame right now that says "It always seems impossible until it's done." A phrase by Nelson Mandela. So I started selling those kind of things because that's the way that I started helping myself reprogram my brain and to remember how to do it right, by having decorative pieces in my house. I also sell essential oil diffusers. I sell lava lamps, or sorry, lava lamps, crystal, the salt lamps as well. And so that's why I started creating Divinity Light, because if you can see behind me, that's kind of a little stage that I have there. My intention is eventually I want to write a children's book. And this is why I say to you as well, I've been able to figure it out, and I am preparing myself for my future because I am believing myself so much right now that I'm setting up the steps for me to be able to accomplish my dreams, right? So I created a stage for myself because I see myself having book signings here when I write my children's book and when I release it. So I'm not going to wait for someone else to give me their stage. I'm going to create a stage and I'm going to do it myself. And so Divinity Light is an example of that. And it's kind of that purpose. It's a dual purpose where I will have people doing workshops. I will be giving workshops as well. And then I'm selling the essential oils and putty and sand and this and that for people to be able to use as relaxing things to implement in their life.
Wonderful. Now, for people who are unfamiliar with crystals,
Sure.
uh, can you explain if they're thinking, okay, it looks pretty, but I don't understand what the meaning would be behind that?
Yeah.
Can you explain what crystals are all about and why you make them, a part of your experience?
Sure. So crystals have different healing properties, right? We were just talking about energetic frequencies and that we as humans give off energy as well. It's the same thing with things of the earth. Why is it that when you go into a forest or you're by a lake or a body of water that it just feels so calming and so relaxing? Well, it's because of its healing properties. It's emitting this energy towards you and you are vibrationally picking up on that. So crystals do the same thing. Every crystal has a different meaning. It has a different healing property. It helps in different ailments and stuff like that. So salt lamps, same thing. There's a reason Himalayan salt lamps are also air purifiers. They help purify the air, and if there's a heat component added to it, it helps magnify that. So that's, aside from being a beautiful decorative piece in your home, it has that dual purpose where it's helping you purify the air. And it also, that the hues in the orangey red yellow lamp as well also give you that very peaceful, relaxing, calming energy as well. And that's something that you can also tap into. So for crystals, there's so many different people wear them. I'm wearing one right now. I'm wearing a couple actually, because they can help with anger. Their different properties can help with soothing, they have soothing properties, or they can have healing properties, or they can help open and inspire wisdom within you. They can help you believe in yourself. So that's why, I have also gotten into the crystals, because it's something that I started using and applying in my own life. Instead of taking medicine and muting my brain, I've been opening up to my gifts and to my purpose and to who I really am in this life.
So let's say somebody's watching and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Jenny, you just started talking to her about crystals. I just came on here for a little bit of business advice. You're going essential oils, like,
Yeah.
all this is too much. So let's rewind back to basics. Let's say somebody is thinking, okay, I like this idea of getting more in touch with where I am and being more, maybe more like the water, and
Yeah,
being a little bit, having a little bit more fluidity. What's
sure.
the best place to start? What's like a new habit that they can start with?
The thing that I always go back to, and it's funny, lemon water in the morning. If you can just start with lemon water in the morning, building different habits. And there's also been people who are like, just make your bed. And if you're already that kind of person, you could just make your bed in the morning, or you're like, that's not my jam, just the lemon water, or just starting to drink more water in a daily basis. That is something that can also help you. Because and if you are already someone who's like, I already know all of these things, got it, da 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 da, I'm good, I don't need that, well, then you can start bringing in other things. How is your life? How are you feeling? Like, do you feel that you have a peaceful life? Do you feel that you're helping your body relax? Are you having that downtime? So then, at that point, I would suggest start tapping into lavender essential oil. It's a plant turned into oil. You use that, you smell that, it can help calm your body down, especially as business owners. We can have a lot of stress around us all the time. And if we're not careful, and the way during our meditation at the beginning, I asked, check where your shoulders are, because sometimes we're walking around like this, and we need to really help them relax and calm down. And so, are you giving yourself those moments? Sometimes for me, what does it is the lavender oil, right? If I have that in my house, it automatically just helps me calm down and be in just a more zen state, a more peaceful state, so I can make, business or executive decisions that I need to make as far as moving forward in the business. So those are some places where I would start.
Okay, that's great advice. Now, I want to hear how you, as a business owner, maintain boundaries, so that you have time for those items, like, even just grabbing some lavender essential oil, or for
Yeah,
saying, hey, you know what? Good reminder, I'm gonna sip my lemon water. Okay, so I'm like multitasking right now, sipping
yeah,
my lemon water and talking to you. But if a business owner is just starting off, they might feel really overwhelmed and like they have to do everything, and they are the employee and they are the person doing the hiring, and they're
yes.
the web person and the social media person. So how do you still fit in those other things of, those other modalities?
Yeah. So what I do, so I always admit to people that I am not the most disciplined person, okay? And I'm starting to learn, well, like, that's okay. That's okay. I've embraced that, and I'm like, I love you so much for that anyway. Like, that's beautiful to me. What I am is consistent. So that's why I have a bunch of tips and tricks that I use. So maybe one day I wasn't the best at drinking a lot of water, but I had because I carry a bottle of lavender oil in my bag, that if I'm like, I always have something that's at hand's reach, right? Because we are busy. I am too. I am my social media manager. I am my accountant. I am my consultant. I am and so I'm the one who's moving all of these things. So what can I do that's reachable, that I can quickly help myself if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm out of alignment, or if I'm starting to feel tired, I'll be like, oh, something's off. Okay, water. Where's my water bottle? And I'm always carrying. So here's my thing. My goal is always to drink one of these a day. Do I always get to my goal? Absolutely not. But this is what I end up doing. I have this, I carry, and no matter where I go, people have known me now because I'm always carrying these two things. That's just like a permanent staple for me. Because if I don't, I'll see that and I'm like, oh, I remind myself at the end of the day, like, oh, I did not drink water. So at the end of the day, when I get home, I'll drink some water because I'm like, I'm so sorry, body. Okay, I love you so much. Thank you so much for carrying me all day long. I'm going to give you some water right now, right? So I help myself by carrying little things. For example, here, I also have a lavender roller, right? And so quick, if I need to, it's a lavender roller. I put it on my wrist. quick, take a deep breath in. That helps me to remember to breathe, and we reset, right? I also do energy work. So I am also knowing how to do like the slush off the negative energy around me to be able to reset. So don't be so hard on yourself. That's where that mindset shift comes in, where it's just like we put so many expectations and we're like, oh, I'm not getting to this and I'm not getting to that. You know, my house is a mess right now. My house is a mess and my business is put together. That's okay. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, that we don't need to be so hard on ourselves and we don't have to be berating ourselves and attacking ourselves because things aren't perfect as the way that we painted in our mind. Well, change it. Change the painting, change the picture. What's one thing that I can do to help myself? Guys, we're not here to be attacking ourselves. We're not here to be like trying to do all of these things and oh, I was less than perfect. What does perfect look like? You're already there. You're already perfect. Done. You don't have to worry about anything else. Everything else is just the glitter on top, right? It's just the sparkle, it's just the shimmer. So if you can just, what are some tangible things that I can reach for myself? What can I have? And I'm a busy person and I am known as the bag lady. I'm carrying tons of bags with me all the time. So I have in those things, like I said, my essential oil, my rollers, things that will help me carry a lavender sachet, you know, my water. What are those things that can help me throughout the day? And so when you do, we do get busy. We get busy. It's true. We do, and we forget, and that's okay. If you can remember to talk to yourself that way too, like, oh, I'm doing so well. I'm doing so well. I got, you know, I'm working hard. I'm taking steps in the right direction. I just want to continue helping myself. Well, I will continue helping myself. And as a reminder, thank you so much, Jenny, for that reminder. If everybody else has water with them and you want to take a drink of water together, well, we might as well just do that. Thank you so much, Jenny, for that reminder. And again, it's that mindset shift of how can we be kinder and gentler to ourselves while we're being very human and expanding and growing right now, because things get real. They get real, real. So how can we be kinder and gentler?
So we've got just a couple minutes for you to wrap up, and I knew you wanted to close everything calmly, so I'll let you do that there so that then I can wrap up on the back end.
Sounds good. Okay. So hands on heart again, feet firmly on the floor. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. It has been a pleasure spending time with you today. I'm so excited. I look forward to seeing you next time. I can't wait. I just want to thank you for taking the time for yourself today, to being here in the present moment, taking the time to expand, to fill your brain with that positive stuff. I'm going to take a deep breath in and let it out. And I just want to remind you, you've already got it in you. Everything that you need, you've already got it in you. Let's start being kinder to ourselves so we can be kinder to others. Or just let that, like the water, flow and surrender. I want to say I'm sending you so, so, so much love. I can't wait to see you next time. Thank you.
Perfect way to end. I sincerely appreciated it. And I hope I hope that this was helpful for you. Can you tell us the website one more time? I'll type it in the chat if they want to. Yeah.
For the Facebook, it's Yesi Montenegro, and same with Instagram, and I think it's same for TikTok.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So they'll be able to find you there on social.
Yeah.
So here's the deal, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed today's session. If you feel like, oh gosh, there were a few things that you were listening to, but maybe wanted to take notes on, I want to remind you that the replay will be up in 1 week. So the replay will be up actually in less than a week. It'll be up on Wednesday. So if you wanted to watch the replay Wednesday and then catch her session 2 on Thursday, that would be a great way to plan it out. Even if you pop it up and listen, you know, while you're getting ready in the morning, while you're on a walk, while you're, you know, driving, again, just listening to it, because this is mostly an audio conversation, so you can really get into it. Also, feel free to share today's conversation with a friend, and then they can join you for part 2. And I want to remind you what part 2 is going to be so that you make sure and make it here for it. It's going to be perfectionism overcoming our biggest light dimmer. So she's going to talk about how you can take steps toward the direction of your dreams with confidence. So that will be coming up same time, same place next week with, again, Sarah National, and they just put on such incredible events. And I want to tell you once again that somebody said that was great. They needed the centering. So so you're getting all kinds of accolades, and we sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thanks.
much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful holiday weekend if you are celebrating the 4th of July holiday, and I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.